This is Goldie with Bovicia Chef, and today I want to get into measurement a little bit with you. Dry measurements are pretty easy, but I'm going to show you our measuring cups and talk to you a little bit about dry measures anyway. First off, here's our measuring cups. As you can see, they're very brightly colored, and our hope is that this makes them a lot easier. Our measuring spoons are the same, and not only do we have the bright colors to indicate to you what each one is, we have a sheet which we make up. I keep on the inside of my cabinet at eye level so I can check, just in case I were to forget. But it's pretty ingrained. Within a week or two of using them, it becomes ingrained in your mind. But we do give you this laminated sheet so that you do keep track of them if you forget. So I'll get into dry measuring with you a little bit. First off, anytime that you do dry measuring, keeping track of your items is very important. So just knowing what type of a container your product comes in, like your baking powder always comes in a round container, and you reach down in there, and this particular one by Glamour Girl has a scrape off point. If it didn't, I keep a level and then just scrape and level, and then just because I'm a little insecure, I'll check before I put it into my container, and then I find my hole because I'm not actually going to use that right now, and I put it back in. Now, as far as the baking soda goes, it's almost always in this, now in the square or rectangular container. And they're almost always orange also. If that is the case in your particular instance, then you'll want to use a rubber band or using a color piece of paper with the 2020 pin marking what it is, great big on the outside, and banding that on, or whatever method you need to do to mark that. Figure out something so that you don't get the two mixed up. The same with your salt, your sugar, and so on. Now I have used the same canisters for my salt and sugar and for years, and I imagine that most of the rest of you have also. And lucky for me, I have a big dark green band around the outside that differentiate the colors of where I'm at, so that I can reach in there with. I always keep a little scoop in there too, handy for myself. But I'm just going to reach in there with that. And it's easy with dry measures because you're just taking that and then you're going to pat, level it off, and then put it into your bowl. I always use brightly colored bowls that contrast whatever I'm baking, making, whatever. And then that way I can hit my target. It just makes a nice big target. These bowls have a pour spout and a handle on them, and that makes it nice for pouring things back in again. Now my salt, I covered this before, but just in case you didn't see my other video, in spices, we have a quarter teaspoon distribution system on each of our salt shakers, and you just click the bottom and you've got a quarter teaspoon, and then you can measure it up from there. The more complicated than the dry measures, other than keeping them marked and having a nice color offset and something that you can see, is going to be your wet measure. Okay? So before I get to that, I'm going to pull aside and tell you, whenever you're making something that's not a cake or something, like you're making a salad dressing. Okay? If you just used a standard pourer, just do a count method. Whatever you want to use. 1, 2, 3 will give you 3 parts, and 1 part of something else, then do a 1 count or a 2 part, 2 count. If you're not doing something that has to be exact, that can be perfectly acceptable. Because whenever you're cooking, your measurements don't have to be exact. You can play with them. Whenever you're baking, things have to be exact. And that's when your wet measure that I'm going to show you right now comes into play. So whenever I'm doing wet measure for baking, it does have to be exact. So what I do for my water is I come over here and I get my water going in a low roll, okay? And then I just let it fill up. I use my dry, and then I hear it rolling over, and then I have my bowl with me, and then I pour it in because I know then it's level. Again, I pour it under. I hear it rolling over. I know it's level, have my bowl right here, and pour it in. Now, to me, that's the easiest way to do water. A lot of people might have other methods, but for me this works, and I use my dry measure cups to do that because, again, I can hear it. Something that's very complicated that's called for now in a lot of cakes is oil. Oil is just a little bit more complex. So our cups have something that's going to help me a little bit, which is a pourer. They kind of have a flat edge on the end of them, squared off. That's going to help a little bit to get things back in the container because I'm not going to want to waste all my oil. But put this inside of a small plate, okay? Pour your oil. I'm going to be getting some pourers for large spout oils, which I don't have at this point in time. But meanwhile, you're just going to have to aim nicely. If you feel you need to use a funnel, do so, but I'm going to try to just aim on this. I've got this offset on a white plate, and I'm just going to watch and put my finger at the edge of it so I feel it come up, and I'm also going to kind of see a sheen as it comes up because I'm setting under a light. Okay, so you'll see the sheen come up, and then I'm going to feel the oil touch my finger, and then I'm going to know that I'm full. And I can see that sheen, and I can see the sheen coming off of my finger. And that's how I measure oil. So for a cake, you haven't got a choice. I don't want to pour my oil everywhere, but you don't have a choice but to use this method, and I think this is the best method. It works the best for me. So then I'm going to pour this oil back in here by using my silicone funnel. And as you see, it gives you a little bit of a directional spout with this because it has that squared off edge. Now if I needed a bigger funnel, I would put the other on, the bigger part attached to it, and it also gives a different variation of offset. Okay, and another thing that I want to get into with you is olive oils. We have pourers that distribute, because a lot of people use olive oil nowadays, and you cannot measure it with a standard jigger measure. You have to use a special, this has a special ball in it, it's called a kitchen measure. We have a 1 tablespoon and a 2 tablespoon, and you just pop them on the top of any vinegar, oil, standard bottle. You can use it for your coffee liquids and that type of thing, and you just hold it at a 45-degree angle, and you know, if I were smart I would probably put something under here. Hold it at a 45-degree angle, and it's going to auto distribute 2 tablespoons of oil for me. It's going to stop automatically. I have one also in a different color, and it distributes 1. You see there it stopped. So I don't have to worry about that measurement. You've got a 1 and a 2 tablespoon measurement for this. We also carry jiggers for alcohol, but I don't have that today. I've got it sitting here, but I don't have any alcohol out today. Anyway, thank you, and I hope this helped you with your measuring, and thanks for visiting Low Vision Chef.